Today we will begin revisiting our tier list series for all the cards in Gwent. It's been about a year, which is 12 balance councils or almost 500 changes have been made to the game, so I figured we should go back, take a look at all the cards again, and go through and rank them on our tier list. So we're going to have 6 tiers again. Actually, I lied, that's 7 because we can't count. But we have the Excellent tier. These are probably the strongest cards in the faction. They're extremely good in many different situations in the faction, or they're integral to a very good deck in the faction, and just have a pretty high impact in the faction in general. Good cards are good. They're a step below the excellent cards in my opinion, but still are generally strong and played. Playable cards are cards that are, you can use them, but usually picking the things in a higher tier is generally going to be better. Niche cards, they have a spot in like a specific deck or specific situations, but are generally not as good as the ones above them. But they can be good in certain setups. Weak cards are generally not that great. They usually are cards you probably want to see a buff to. Bad cards are really kind of offensively bad, where you would never really want to use them in their current state. They just don't have enough value. And if there's a situation where they get like specific value, it's not enough to make up for it. Lastly, we have the meme tier. These are for cards that are just terrible, to be honest, and probably don't have any redeeming qualities, and potentially can't even be buffed to be usable because of some kind of design issue. Now we'll go through all the monsters cards here. We're going in alphabetical order in terms of faction and cards. So monsters is the first alphabetical faction. We'll start with the alphabetical cards and try and get in here, get some rankings. Try and keep it relatively brief because obviously we can make a whole video on a specific card. We've done that before. And let's just talk about these cards here and see where we rank them. Now, Abaya, we'll start off here with a definition of a niche card. Abaya has some specific uses, usually activating Arrakis Queen for Witch's Sabbath decks. You use her to do that if you want to play triple decks, like triple Gurnikor or something like that. Generally, it's not the best. Having Thrive on a card that activates Deathwish is pretty weird. That's just kind of a holdover from being an earlier card that never got reworked, I don't think. And it's just not good, because activating Deathwish is generally not good, because Consume activates Deathwish, and stuff like Indrago War, you can consume 2 cards at once, and it's a 4/4 on a 4 provision card. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about Abaya. She's just a niche card in some specific decks, but not generally very good outside of that. But we'll put her in niche because she has a spot in those decks if you want to play triple something, but generally not a card you want to be playing too often. Not Arrakis. It's Acid Spit. Ooh, Acid Spit's pretty terrible. I'll put it in bad. The problem with Acid Spit is you really have to activate it several times by spawning tokens the same turn. So how it works is when you spawn a little insect token or whatever, it does a damage until the thing's at 1 power, and it does the 1 damage each time you spawn a token, and then it spreads to the nearby ones once you are at 1 power instead of killing it. Problem with that is it's very hard to spawn enough tokens in 1 turn. Unless you're playing a deck to combo this, then why wouldn't you just play a deck to combo with something else that is wide payoff, like a Glusty Warp, like a Bone Talisman, like pretty much anything else would be better than this? Because all you can really do, the highest thing you can do with this is set up for a Glusty Warp by knocking all your opponent's stuff down to 1 and consuming them. Really not worth it, especially at 6 provisions. The only reason it's not going in meme is because I wonder if it'd be playable at 4 provisions. I don't even think 5 would save this, to be honest. Anna Striga, we'll put her in playable, I think. She's okay as a finisher. Having 7 base power very importantly means she can consume a base Harpy token, and that can be useful in some situations because you can get your Harpy token, double up on the points. It does go pretty tall. That's not ideal, but it's not the worst thing. It's not great either. It's okay, but usually there are better cards to play as finishers. She's a little bit better now that she's 7 power, because also because you reach on certain enemy tokens. So we'll leave her in the playable tier. Probably not their first pick, but you can use her. Specifically in Golden Necker decks, if you want a big finisher, she can give you a bit of a tool there. Alpha Werewolf is probably still a good card. I wouldn't say it's an excellent one. It lets you double up on boost by either buffing Werewolf or buffing the Outer Striga. Usually Werewolf is a better choice because it is 4 provisions, and then you can get a 25 point guy on the ceiling. and it's pretty good. Oh, I wanted to mention Adastriga as well. She also can work well with Carapace because the Carapace buffs her power, and she can use her order and consume like a 9 or something. So there's that. But Alpha Werewolf is pretty good, I would say. Has some uses if you want to do carryover and some big plays, specifically in first decks that have good tempo. You can play this round 1 to get good carryover, get some value. Arrakis Behemoth, I'm going to put him in playable. It's not the best insectoid card. The best insectoid card is probably just Tatterwing. But if you're playing a non-Tatterwing deck, it can be alright. It gets decent value if you have a row with a few tokens in it. Its ceiling is 13 for an 8, which does require you to have a lot of stuff in its row. And there are generally higher payoff cards to having a wide board. But if you would like to develop more tokens on your board while also buffing the ones you already have, it can work out alright. But not the strongest card. I should mention right here that we're going to try and rank these as best we can. But just keep in mind, with balance councils and stuff changing, the best deck changes. I'm not necessarily going to put a card in the excellent tier if it's just put in the best deck at the moment, because the deck isn't just all the cards in the best deck don't go in the best tier. Is how I should put that. Speaking of best cards, though, I think Arrakis Queen's our first one going up here in the excellent tier. Arrakis Queen provides an incredible amount of value and creates decks that otherwise can't exist. So the triple decks, mainly we're talking about here, with the Witch's Sabbath. But even outside of that, she's one of the best value Deathwish cards in the game. She can enable you to do ridiculous amounts of points off of Detlef. And even outside of Detlef, even just duplicating Succubi is really good. Honestly, just duplicating anything with her is really good if it has some kind of Deathwish. And then she even can spawn the Arrakis Nest, which is really good value. It's kind of like the prime Heatwave target for Deathwish decks. Yeah, she's really good overall. Ard Gaith is definitely good. The least good. Gives you a bunch of Frost, has Echo. I think we'll put it in good. It does enable a lot of things for Wild Hunt Frost, but there are other Wild Hunt Frost cards that can also give you plenty of Frost, and sometimes the Ard Gaith is just too much Frost, unless you have the Foglet out, Ancient Foglet. But yeah, I think it's just good. It's a good card. Good in Frost decks. Used to be played in Tatterwing before Tatterwing, or Lore specifically, got some changes, so you don't have to do that anymore, but still good. Where do we put Armored Arrakis? Now, Armored Arrakis is a weird one. Let's just put it here while we're talking. Armored Arrakis is weird because it has Deploy. If it's not the only unit in its row, it locks itself. So you have to play into an empty row. Then in 3 turns, if that row is full, you get plus 12. 17 for 7 is fantastic. That condition really holds it back because you really need to fill that row up. And against some decks, you can't. And sometimes if you fill the row up, you're already in a great spot and don't need this card. You might rather have a card that makes more tokens. The biggest problem for Armored Arrakis is that you can bypass the deploy and then have as much time, or already have units on the board in the row you want her counter going off in. To do that, you have to play Penitent and use the Penitent Deathwish. That means, as long as Armored Arrakis is 7 provisions, you can do that. If you buff it to 6, the card actually just gets worse because you can't use the Penitent combo, and I think that's the best way to use it. So that's kind of funny, but I'm going to put this card in probably meme. I don't think there's a way to fix it. Maybe if it was 7 for 7 base power, because this thing getting locked is atrociously bad. Yeah, maybe 7 for 7 would be fine. We'll put it in bad. I'm not going to throw all the way in the meme. But yeah, it's getting locked. It's just kind of a terrible. It also really hurts because Arrakis Swarm in general, outside of Tatterwing, does not go tall. And this card goes tall, so always eats a tall punish. The deck also doesn't play many cards that are vulnerable to lock, so this card eats the locks, because they're always going to have those things ready to answer this, because they don't use them on anything else in the deck. That makes it pretty bad. I'm going to assume leave it in bad for now. It could be in here, though. Could see both of these. Not this card, though. Not this card. Oberon is fantastic. Move this up a little bit. So he is fantastic. Just very good card. It gives you good flexibility on what it can create in the third form, which is why I use the third form as the picture here. Just used in Frost. Frost is a very strong deck, and Oberon really enables it to have a good finisher card that isn't Carryover Golden Child. Because Golden Child often will get dropped at the beginning of a round, so you don't lose value on its boost from not frosting stuff. You can use this guy to play Wild Hunt Rider, which is a 19-point play that also gives you an engine each turn. That's fantastic. And then you can flex into other choices as well. Sometimes Navigator's the best, sometimes you need a movement. Very good value. I think we'll go good on Bloody Mistress. Bloody Mistress goes in Relic decks. You can also go into Fruit decks, which has been more common lately. But overall, she gets good value, specifically with Fruits of Yizgith, because the Fruits of Yizgith lets you spawn a token, which means you have 3 tokens and she gets 3 a turn. It also means that the opponent has to kill 3 tokens for her to stop boosting, and they can never kill all the tokens because you can spawn a new one off the leader, which is why she's best used in those decks. She can also combo with Lilith's Omen and Mamuna, which is pretty solid, but I would say her best use is without the Omen and just playing her in the Fruits deck. I think she's good. My only debate is, do I put her in playable because you might want to run Erendite over her or some other removal cards. But I do think I will keep her in good for now. Speaking of good cards, this is a good card, but it's going 1 tier higher. Brewis Ritual is very good. Thinning your deck by 2 is fantastic. It specifically thins Deathwish cards. The fact that Urn of Shadows exists also makes this card probably just a tier better, because if you activate this thing with Urn of Shadows, then consume it, you've thinned 4. At that point, your thinning is almost done. So that just puts her on a new level. I do think she belongs to be up here with her incredible value and just consistency. Regular Brewis, though, I think I'm going to get the other Crones now as well, I think. Where is you and where is you? It's alphabetical. You think I could find them pretty quickly if I wanted to. You would be wrong. All right. Now, we're going to rank these 3 together, even though some of them are better than other ones, because you have to play them together. So, of these, obviously, Wispus is the best, typically, because removal is premium. You loses 1 more point on the boost. And then the consume on Brewis is typically just used if your opponent does something that plays a false Siri on you, or if they're going to do something like you're playing a Golden Necker deck commonly with these, and then your tome isn't set up because you have 2 copies of bronze in your hand, so you can consume 1, and then you can do the tome thing. So she's the worst, but I'm going to put these 3 together because they are played as a package, and because of that, we're going to give these 3 the good rating. I think they're good overall. They're really useful for Relic decks, and really useful for some Golden Necker decks that want the extra removal. So yeah, we'll go with good on these guys, these girls. We're not always going to put things in the same deck together, but I think these are so connected. We should probably just put the art in the right order. I remember specifically last year, someone commented on me not putting like Vesemir, Lambert, and Eskil in the right order, so we'll do it here. Yeah, that's what I think. Carryover and Koshei. I'm going to put Carryover separate from Koshei, I think, as he has another use on Ruin. Carryover is good. Carryover is a good card. Like I said with the Rakkus Queen, duplicating things is good. He's just more limited in what he can do. Yeah, he's more limited. I'm going to put him in good. Obviously, making an extra Koshei strong, making extra Ruin strong for those decks. Koshei deck's definitely the better of those 2. But I think this warrants to be here in good tier. Golden Child is an incredible finisher. We'll stick him by the other Frost person here. And Golden Child often will be a 20 to 30 point play for 8 provisions, which is one of the highest value finishers in the game. What keeps him from being nerfed constantly is Golden Child does fall off in short rounds if you don't open with him, which means he's more vulnerable to tall punish than most finishers. That being said, still fantastic value, and definitely gonna fall in this top tier. Cave Troll. Oh, the defenders. Here's the thing with the defenders. Defender It's kind of a broken keyword if you think about it. That being said, it is vulnerable to Purify, and it's pretty expensive. So you need to be protecting something really valuable with Cave Troll. Usually this is used to protect King Trum in an Ogre deck, or to be part of a Witch's Sabbath combo. Those are good uses for him. I am always torn with the defenders on these tier lists between just throwing them in niche because they only go in decks that want a defender, but they're really good at that thing, which is kind of what niche is about. But I think overall, I'm going to give him a good, I think. Cave Troll has some really nice uses. You can also play it to protect, what's his name, Sir Scratch a lot. I think we'll put him up here. But just, yeah, I think he's got enough uses that he'll fall up here. All right, next up we have the Crimson Curse. Played a lot of Darkest Dungeon in my days. Familiar with Crimson Curse. Definitely the best content ever for that game. Definitely no sarcasm. As far as where we're going to put it, it's only really in Devotion Vampires. You technically can play it in Golden Necker Arrakis Storm, or in other Arrakis Storm decks because it is an organic and it spawns tokens and gives value. But really, it's just a Devotion Vampire card. That being said, it is good value, right? You get 6 points on the board and 5 turns of bleeding, which is really nice for vampires. I'm going to put it in playable. It's not the best vampire card, and 9 provisions is pretty competitive spot for vampires, but I think it's fine. Like, you can run it. It's not too bad. Dagon. Dagon's going to go up here. Dagon, if you just think about Dagon for a second, it plays for 8. It has the ability to consume. It has engine value, because each time you play a Deathwish card, it gives it a boost. It gives you 8 points of carryover via the Dagon Promise, which is his same form, which is an engine with consume. And he gives you the 5 Death Wishes to worship in the deck, which is another 10 points of carryover if you consume them all. Dagon has so much value spread across his infusions and his Dagon Promise form that he's just going up here. Dagon really is the heart of Deathwish. It's why you always see Dagon Deathwish decks when you see it and not like Haunt or something. Detlef. Ooh, this one's a good one. Detlef's a good vampire. Let's put him here. Detlef is really good for giving you that Crimson Curse effect or Blood Moon effect that Crimson Curse does. But he's on a unit that has a 7-point body and has an order that does a damage and can spawn a 3-point Ekamara. Means he can be played with tempo. It's a little bit more tempo. It's 1 more tempo than this because of the Ekamara spawns, but he represents an engine threat as well. And you'll usually get 4 turns of duration out of him, so very good for vampire decks. Yeah, very good for vampire decks. Next up, we have Detlef, Higher Vampire. This is just like Detlef Vander, whatever his name is, right? This is Higher Vampire. Excellent value for Deathwish cards, but he's really enabled a lot by Arrakis Queen and some of the other Deathwish cards. Yes, he plays for 18 for 10, which is good. That's a lot of points, but it does require you to consume him, which is fine. Those Deathwish decks can consume him. I think I'm going to put him in good over the excellent tier, though, because he really shines because of Arrakis Queen and because of Giant Toad when we get there. Not in bronzes, but yeah, he really shines because of Arrakis Queen in particular. So we'll put him in good. I can see you wanting to put up here if you like Deathwish, though. Runestone. We're putting Runestone in weak just because I think at 4 provisions it might be used. Otherwise, it would go in meme tier. But it kind of goes for all the Runestones. The Monster's Runestone in particular, though, the Monster's Runestone can give you like double engines like Larva and Necker. It can also give you tall cards like Fiend and Griffin. But there's nothing consistent about any of the Runestones other than maybe Nilfgaard will give you control. So really just not to the best there. I don't know what got into random kitten running around. Must have been upset by us talking about the monsters. But yeah, I'm going to put this in weak. It could be meme. I'm just going to put it in weak because maybe at 4 it'd be okay. Lock. Lock is pretty much just used to give you an extra Succubus or an extra Chimera, depending what deck you're playing, which is fine. But if you could play a third one in your deck, you would instead of paying the extras here. The Tutor at the top of the deck order really doesn't matter that much. The spawning the 2 Arrakis drones, I mean, you're not going to use it in Arrakis deck, so the drones are pretty much just there if you're willing to play Predatory Dive in a different deck. So I'm going to say this card's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I think I'm going to put it in playable instead of good. I mean, you kind of need it in Deathwish, though, for the extra succubus. I'm not blown away by it, though. It's really succubus that's good, not this. I guess you could cut it, too, if you just want to use succubus in 2 rounds instead of 3. Yeah, I'm going to put it in playable. Andrega Queen. Let's talk about Andrega Queen. I'm going to put it here for now. The problem with Andrega Queen, it kind of shares the same thing as Armored Arrakis. There are very few cards in Arrakis Swarm, outside of like Tatterwing and Morvid for the Tatterwing version, that go tall. That's kind of the strength of it, right? Your opponent's playing off tall punish, you can avoid it. This card goes tall in a deck that doesn't go tall often. It turns itself into an engine that is tall, which are premium removal targets. And enabling Deathwish by the consume effect isn't something that is typically valued in Arrakis Swarm decks. So it doesn't synergize well with the deck, and its value's not there. If it doesn't consume, it has 2 engine ticks. Not worth it. So really, I think this card is not very good. But I think maybe at 5 provisions, it could actually be decent. So we'll see about that, because then you're not committing that much. Aridin. I want to push Aridin up here, I think. Aridin has a lot of value, and it also is one of my favorite artworks in the game, which is not going to factor in here, but I just want to mention that. It might be my favorite. Can't wait to finish painting my Witcher Old World, then we'll have this guy there. But yeah, as far as as far as Aridin goes, the engine effect of the extra point of Frost is 2 extra damage a turn, and often that gives you thresholds where something takes 3 and might die where otherwise wouldn't, which is really useful. And even if you just think about him in a vacuum, he's playing for 7, putting down Frost. With the White Frost leader, he's playing for 8. Now Frost is immediately going to tick for probably 3. That's just good value. He just has good value, while still being a somewhat dangerous engine that enables this guy pretty well. Yeah, I think he's super strong. What is not super strong is Frightener. Unfortunately for Frightener, its day as the payoff to no unit Deathwish has kind of gone, because the deck doesn't really function anymore. It's more, you wouldn't do that. It just is too expensive for what it does. It's a 12-point immune finisher if you destroy 3 of your own cards. A 12-point immune is fine. Paying 9 for it with that condition is not. It's just much too expensive. I can't really say anything about it. I think you could maybe justify playing a no-unit Deathwish deck if this card was cheaper, because you want to use it in that deck, and it's not really giving you that much for it. Gale is fine. Are we going to group the things together by their deck? I might. Gale's fine. It's just there are better things to do in Vampires than play Gale most of the time, and his setup is a bit inconsistent. Although you do get some really funny clips with him if you like hit like a Morvid or something. You can get some crazy things. Although if you bleed a Morvid down to 3, let me know, because I would love to see that happen. But yeah, in theory, you're most likely like a Griffin or a Fiend if you're being lucky in this guy. But if he does kill like a 4-power unit, that's a 4-point boost. It's just usually easier to do other stuff, and Vampires have enough engines that you don't need a big value play from this if your engines are working. So I'm not the biggest fan. Where do we put... Oh, Tutor cards are interesting. Tutoring is probably one of the strongest effects in all of Gwent, alongside Resilience. And Gels does that. Goes in Tatterwing, too. I'm going to put him up here. Tutoring is incredibly good. And the fact that you can tutor specifically the... You don't use them in Wild Hunt, though. Or only in Wild Hunt, I think. Because you don't need to do the special anymore, because you can do Aparian Phantom for Tatterwing. But I still think tutoring is incredibly useful. So yeah, we'll put him here. I could see this. as well. But I think the fact that you can find your specials and then in the White Frost deck find anything is really good. Mostly in the White Frost deck, finding anything just gives you consistency that otherwise you don't have in Devotion monsters, which is something that Devotion Vampire suffers from. They don't have something like Gels to find them their cards. Girdle of Giant Strength. I have managed to not call this card Belt of Giant Strength for once in my life now. Because I always think of the Heroescape rune, or not rune, the treasure glyph. This card is not very good. The problem with Girdle of Giant Strength, there's two. One is you're getting 20 for 12, which sounds fine until you realize how tall the cards are going, and it needs Might for the second one. The second issue, and the one I see as a bigger problem, is Ogoroids like to play a lot of big units. They like to play a lot of units to enable King Trum to be really, really big. That means your non-Ogoroid unit cards have to be very impactful, and typically it is more impactful for that deck to run control options in their specials and consistency options than just something else that makes you big. This card is too expensive to be fit in that deck for its purpose, right? So it's going to fall in bad, I think. I think it has to be significantly, like it has to be cheaper for it to be played in that. Glusty Warp's going to go in here. Glusty Warp's fine. The problem with Glusty Warp as opposed to other finishers is what she does is she effectively gets you +1 point from each of your 1-point tokens by consuming them for 2. You can also get a couple of opponents' cards sometimes. Usually you'll get that if they're playing like Siege or something. Good luck playing Siege against Siege with a Arrakis Swarm. But if they have like little token guys, or 1-power Slakeling guys. But yeah, the problem with the Glusty Warp is it goes very, very tall. Kind of like we talked about with the Endrega Queen and Arrakis, Armored Arrakis. Goes very tall. In a deck that doesn't have that much that goes tall. And on top of that, if you just, say you have 10 tokens out, well, 12 would be a better number. Say you have 12 tokens out, this gets +12 on itself, so it's playing 18 for 9. That's good. Let's say we have 12 tokens out, and we just play Bone Talisman. We're getting 12 plus 1 from the Talisman spawn, that's 13 on wide, that isn't going tall, and we still keep the tokens so we can keep wide buffing. Yeah, I just think that the payoffs are better, but this card's not terrible. Also, certain builds you can do with rats and stuff. Goliath, we're going to put in good. Goliath is just a solid card if you want a decent mid-range point value card in your deck. Primarily used in Ogoroids because it is an Ogoroid and they like it the most. But you can play this in other decks that want to go tall. Or if you want to play, like just to have a fairly big card in your deck to drop down the mid-range. Some Golden Necker decks, maybe with Emilrith will do this. But not that often. Mostly it's an Ogoroid card, which is pretty solid for. You can also make mill monsters with this card, which I've done. It's hilarious, but it's not consistent at all. Next up, we'll go on to Haunt, which I'm going to put in good, I think. Yeah, I think Haunt is pretty good. You usually see it with V decks, but it does enable the consumes quite a bit. I've been meaning to try it out with Deathwish again. But overall, Haunt's just pretty solid. It gives you 3 consumes if you get the second one off of Barghest, which is very good. It gives you consumes the turn you play the card, so you don't need to play a Deathwish card with the Barghest part, and that's really nice. And then the Night Wraith also has been buffed, so it's a little bit better of a card at the end. Yeah, it's just pretty solid. Not played in too many decks, but it's pretty good in what is played in. Hivemind, still one of the strongest cards for Carryover Monsters has. Because if you enable Hivemind round 1, typically what you do is you play Hivemind in Chattering decks. It gives you a way to put points on the board in a deck that doesn't have very high power units, as in they're all 1 except for eventually Morvood, Sunset Wanderer, and Chattering itself. So for that, it's really good. You can carry it over. 3 of the things you can carry over to the next round, which is very, very deadly. And it just gives really good value over the course of each of the spawns. Because each time you spawn a token at the same turn, you could play another engine that's doubling up on engines, which is one of the best things you can do in engine-based decks if you want to play Arrakis Swarm that way. But usually it's played just to give you a bunch of points and secure a round, which it does quite well. What does not do that is Eider. I'm going to put down here in weak. Eider's fine. Like, its effect is fine. It's just too expensive for what it does, right? If you're opponent plays a unit, you can ping it and spawn tokens. For Arachis Swarm decks in general, you want to be able to spawn the tokens when you want to, not the opponent having to play units for it, which is a bit annoying. And just being 9 is a bit expensive. Like a 9 provision engine, yeah, it's 7 power, but it's not the most consistent thing. And it's just, I think it's just a bit weak, unfortunately. It's a bit expensive. Imlerith. Ooh, we're going to be divisive with this one. I know there's Imlerith haters and Imlerith believers. I'm an Imlerith believer. Probably a minute playable. Imlerith's okay. It's just usually there's better things to do. If you think about him on surface level, even just discarding a Griffin to cycle your deck is a 12 for 8 play that thins your deck 1 by cycling. That's not that bad. Obviously, you'd like to discard something like Goliath or Yigern, but can't always have that. Yeah, I think he falls in the playable category pretty well. Just he's a card you can play, just usually there's better things to do than him, but he's not that bad. He's just vulnerable to Tall Punish, but sometimes you don't care because your deck has a whole bunch of Tall stuff. Sometimes you care that's a reset that he gets punished by, but I think he's fine. Not great, but like you can use him. Let's put his Wrath right here. That's a joke, guys. We're not putting Imlerith's Wrath there. I'm going to put it up here for one specific reason, which we'll talk about here. Imlerith's Wrath is a very good control card for monsters, specifically Frost, because it just destroys something if there's Frost. But what makes it into this excellent tier, in my opinion, is its use in Ogroids. Ogroids are so tall that when you play Imlerith's Wrath, it's usually doing like 12 damage, which just kind of kills stuff. And it's why you see this card played in Ogroid sometimes. But I do think it's an excellent control card. I mean, just destroy a unit is so strong, I think I'm putting up here. And then the extra bonus of being played in Ogroid sometimes. Yeah, really good. Manticore, not gonna make the cut here. The problem with Manticore, well, there's two. One is Manticore is a bit expensive to destroy your opponent's lowest power unit. Yes, you can catch people off guard with it, usually if they go first and play a stratagem. The problem with that is catching them off guard usually requires a leader charge and you to be playing Overwhelming Hunger, which is actually somewhat of a commitment to leader there round 1 just to punish them. The other problem with this is the Predatory Dive problem, where Predatory Dive gets played pretty frequently, and you play around it the same way you play around Manticore, so you're probably not catching anyone with it because of Predatory Dive. So I think it's just a bit weak. 7's expensive for what it does. Yeah, not the biggest fan. Jotun. Jotun. How do we do this? I think it has been nerfed from 8 to 9. I still think it's up here. If you account for the Ice Giants in your deck, and just say you're paying 1 extra provision for a 4 provision card to play Ice Giants, this is basically a 15 for 9 point slam. 15 for 9 plus those two, so 15 for 11. I think it's good. I still think this is good. Is it as strong as before? It's not as strong, that's for sure. Would I still rank it in this tier? I think so. It's such a big point play, and a lot of decks still want to use it. I still think it's good. Just having it come down for 15 is great. Yeah, that's just good. Ogres love this card. Fruits doesn't always play this now. I still think it's good enough to go up here. This one's on the edge for me, though. Might come back and change it. Ekamara is a good vampire engine card. Just good. Potentially 3 points each time you use its order. Often that's like every other turn, because you can have like a Necra out, play like Alps, do leaders, which is nice. Lets you go wide with your points instead of going tall in a flitter, which can be something vampires struggle with, having their flitters be really tall. So it's nice to have a way to put those points spread out. Yeah, I think it's good. Karen. I'll throw this up here. Karen's a good Deathwish card. It's good if you want to play something with no units because it's immune. And the fact that it's triple consume is actually very useful for Deathwish because they can struggle with having enough consumed sometimes. And just having this as a finisher, especially if you're going like Arrakis Detlef, it eats 3 things. It's nice. And the other problem with consumes is they go tall. He fixes it by being immune. So pretty good card for that deck. Keltalus. Where do we put Keltalus? Keltalus decks have seen a comeback because of dragons in general, and Keltalus being cheaper. You can play like a dragon Keltalus deck. I don't think it's the best thing. That's for sure. Do I put this in niche? Put it in playable. I think he's playable now. I think I would have put him in niche before he got a provision buff and the dragon deck with him became more popular. Yeah, we'll go with playable. You can make decks with Keltalus. You don't have to Witch's Sabbath him anymore. He has other builds, which is good because that was really limiting. Yeah, I think playable is a fine spot for him. King Trum. I still think King Trum's kind of ridiculous. He's going up here. King Trum, like, if you're playing Ogreoids, you want your King Trum to be big, and you warp your deck a bit to include extra units to make your King Trum really big. If King Trum has resilience and he carries over, typically I would say the average is like an 18 that I see on King Trum. 18 times 2 is 36 points. And 18 of it's carryover. There's a reason why King Trum dropping at the end of a round against you feels so bad, because it tempo slams to win the round, and then it is a carryover that you have to deal with. It's why you really have to save removal for this thing. Even if you purify it, it's still played for a bunch of points, and then you can Azrael it. So, very, very strong card. I think he kind of makes Ogreoids. Koshei. I still want to separate Koshei from Carryover. Obviously, they are fantastic together, but the reason Carryover is good is because Koshei is very strong. Do I really want to justify spreading these out? I kind of want to put them together still. Go put them together. Carryover Koshei is the core of one of the more popular monsters decks usually, right? Carryover Koshei, then Koshei, either Renfrey version or Manor version. So I do think I'll put them together just because, yeah, we will do it. But yeah, Koshei is very good. The reason it's so strong is because in a round that's like 6 or 7 cards, it's worth like 70 points. You get like 70 points out of this combo or something ridiculous. Yeah, very strong. The opponent has to answer it. They can't usually answer both Kosheis very effectively because this one's at 6 with 2 armor. It's kind of hard to get rid of. Usually drop your leader on it, usually a scratch or something. And this just, it's out of control if the opponent can't stop it, which is why it's going to go up here. Lara dropping right in here. No question for me. She's falling in this tier. We're not going to rank them within the tiers. So I'm not going to say like this is the worst card in excellent, by the way, or like this is the best card in excellent. We went alphabetically, and it's just kind of how they're ending up here. So I sort of drop things by the similar decks, I guess. But yeah, Lara, if you're playing a deck, say you have 16 tokens, that's a lot. Say you have 12 tokens. 16 is reasonable, you can have that. So you have 12 tokens, you play the Lara, boost all your tokens by 2. That is 24 points across a wide board. So they're all spread. The opponent can't answer them effectively unless they're playing Yurden, which if they're playing Yurden, I mean, you've probably already won because they're memeing. But yeah, that being said, Lara is incredible. And then she comes back and does it again. Usually Lara plays for at least 50 points. And that is a bit crazy. You just do your whole deck setup for her. And the fact that she works so well with Tidal Ring, because Tidal Ring sets her to 1. So if you've 1 turn of Frost, she just kills herself. And then you can do the Apparent Phantom now that she's 3 power and kill her that way with the second one. Very good. A little understatement there, very good. Lilith's Omen. I think Omen's going to drop in playable. You can play Omen for Omen Fruits. You do the Mamuna and the Bloody Mistress combo. I don't think it's necessary. It makes you keep those 2 cards in deck to have the Omen play them, which is annoying because often you might draw one of them, and then your combo's worse. It's also annoying because it makes you commit those 2 both in the same round at the same time, which means it's very good at all-inning around 2, for example, or around 3 to open with. But it means it's not good in other situations where you don't want to play those both out of your deck, but you have your Omen. So I think it brings more cons than pros, but it does have some potential. It's going to go unplayable because you can use it. I just think it's a little better to not use it. Lord Riptide. Okay, we got to talk about the Balance Council here for a second. I'm ranking all these cards how they are in the current patch, unless I absolutely know it's getting changed because of either being a deliberate overbuff, over nerf, something like that. Because of that, and that this is supposed to be a resource for probably the next year until next year we do this again, is Lord Riptide is going to go in excellent. Yes, it is not as played now at 8 for 9. It is still a premium monsters removal card. It's still played in a lot of monsters decks, and it's 100% going back to 9 for 9, and maybe even 10 for 9 after this. And I'm not going to speculate on other changes. This is just one that's obviously going to happen, and it's going to remain an excellent tier. I would probably say it's still an excellent tier right now, to be honest. So, yeah, that is just a note of that. Obviously, Lord Riptide is the premium monsters removal card. That is what it is. It plays removal with tempo. That's what you want. Mamuna is going right up here, too. Mamuna is one of the best just pure points cards you can play in monsters. A ton of different decks can play Mamuna. They don't always, but a ton can. The best targets being Griffin and Fiend, usually. You can also do Oberon Conqueror. You can play her in Frost and do that. That's actually not that bad. It's actually pretty good. And just, if you do her on Griffin, that is 20 points. It also thins the Griffin out of your deck. Doing it on Fiend is really good, too. It's one of the best point slam cards you can do. And it's also really nice that she puts the points on 2 bodies, because she buffs herself by the first thing she consumes, and then the second one comes out of your deck, which means the points are on 2 bodies, right? If they can't remove 20 points at once, they can only remove like 11. And if you can play something like Relics, you can actually take advantage of the fact that her Sabbath will play the second card as well. So, very good. Manor. Ooh, Manor. Manor's definitely good now. I don't want to put it all the way up in the excellent, I don't think. So I think the Koshé Caranther deck, these 2 are the cards in that deck. This is just a support. Either you play this or you play Renfrey. But this does get played in Ogroids, just not that commonly. I do think it's fun in Ogroids, but I think we'll leave this in good. I think it's a good card. And just, it gives you a lot of engine potential, and it turns some of your weak engines like Necker and Andrega Larvas into more of point slammy cards, because Necker plays for 2, but with this out, it plays for 5. That's actually a really big difference. And the fact that you can play a unit off the top one will enable all the engines you've already played to thriving them again, which is nice. So, also thins your deck by 1 of your bronzes, which is nice. So, I think it's good. Maruna. Maruna. Maruna has some issues. I'm going to put her here. At the time of recording, she was recently buffed, but here's the thing with Maruna. She seizes a 4 or less. A lot of things over the course of the Balance Council that it would be good to seize at 4 have been power buffed to 5. It makes her a lot harder to seize specific things that you want. Often there'll be random tokens she takes that you're not thrilled with, and often the 4 threshold isn't enough. And she also needs to consume, so it's hard to use her the same turn. It usually requires a leader charge or like a fake leader charge in terms of a giant toad to get this to snipe something. And yeah, she's just a bit hard to use. I'm going to say she's weak still. More of a kind of the same line as Mamuna with the same reasons and basically the same explanation. Mamuna, is a very high point slam card you can play at the end of the game. It increases base power, so it can't get reset. And almost any monsters deck can just play him, unless you're playing Golden Necker, and have a good time playing him as a 17-point finisher. So that's just good. And it's good to have that. He goes in tons of decks. You see him in Fruit, you see him in Frost, you see him in Tatterwing. A lot of uses. He's usually really good, so we'll put him up there. Morntart, we'll say, is good. Morntart's typically the finisher for Caranther Koshé. It does not have to be. It doesn't work as well unless you're doing that, although you can play like Sirens and stuff too. The problem with Morntart is that it's a finisher that you can't really play early, right? So, like, for example, say you want to play, I don't know, King Trum as a finisher, or like, what's a good example? So you want to play your Caranther Golden Child as a finisher. You can drop it round 2 to aggressively pressure the opponent. You can't do that with Morntart because your graveyard's not set up usually to do that. It needs the Caranther Koche spawning all the Endrega larvas for it to get really big, or you to have like the throwing everything out of your deck with like the Renfree stuff where they do the Highwaymen and things like that. So yeah, I think she's good, but I don't think she's that amazing. I don't think she like goes in the top tier. She's also expensive enough that you could consider a different card as well. Next up, we have Necromancer's Tome. Now, I said I wasn't ranking these cards in order, but I'm putting this one first. Necromancer's Tome is incredible if you play it with Golden Necker. If you don't play with Golden Necker, what are you doing? That's kind of where we're at here. That being said, we're going to consider it in the Golden Necker deck because that is its best deck. I say the Golden Necker deck. There are several, and they all exist because of this card. This is why you play Golden Necker monsters. How it works is you play Golden Necker, it plays a unit, it plays this, then it plays the special. All the specials in your deck play units, which means they'll go off after this is on board, immediately triggering its effect, which means you'll get 2 units out at once, doubling up on that, and then often you'll be using a small Deathwish package, which then this can activate the Deathwish. You don't have to, it works great in Golden Necker Vampires, works great in Golden Necker Relics, but incredibly potent card. If the opponent has to send a Heatwave into it to remove it, that is a 0 tempo play, and you're still sitting there having Golden Neckered them with like 3 extra cards on board. So it's super strong. Yeah, this card's incredible. We have Nithral. I'm going to say Nithral. He's not that bad. Questioning's not that great either. I'm going to stick him next to Keltalus. I'm going to put him in playable. He goes well in the Keltalus deck. You can play him in a more engine damagey type of Frost, although I would probably say it's not, well, not probably, I would say it's not as good. But he's alright, you can play him, he's not terrible. If you're playing a Carapace deck, you could use him as a target for Carapace, it's pretty solid. Get the 2 extra damage out, but usually he goes with Keltalus, you can go next to him. Old Spear Tip Asleep and Old Spear Tip, unfortunately, as much as I like this duo, I think the idea behind it is cool, it's just not that good. The idea is the Old Spear Tip Asleep sits there, and then it summons out Old Spear Tip and gives it 6 extra base power, but if you wake it up early and summons out Old Spear Tip right away, and he goes away. Or doesn't go away, he summons it out rather, it doesn't give it the 6 base power. Very awesome design. Very cool. But you have to pay 11 for a 12-point no-effect card in your deck called Old Spear Tip. I could play Goliath, that's a 12 for 7 instead. And typically they're not killing Goliath. So the extra 4 Persians just doesn't do anything here. This is really just a symptom of Old Spear Tip being way too expensive or way too small. It's just unfortunate. I missed the Old Spear Tip, that was 15. They make this more compelling. It's also just, yeah, it's just too expensive and it is too small. So that's a problem. It's just a weak combo at the moment. Yeah, that's where it's going. Orianna. Now, Orianna is a very strong vampire engine. Orianna, something. She is good. I'm actually going to stick her up here. I think Orianna's excellent. She does 2 things quite well. One is give a bunch of bleeding out, which is something you'd like to do because it gives Flutters a really nice boost. The second thing is she's an engine that can spin up her points really, really fast. If there's depending on how much bleeding is on the board, right? Take a situation where you're in trouble. You can just drop all your leaders and drop Orianna, and she's getting 4 points a turn, and the opponent's bleeding 4 points a turn for the next 3 turns. That can get a lot of value and save you from a lot of problem situations. Yeah, she's roll-locked. Yeah, she can be moved because of that. Yeah, she can be reset. But she's such a powerful engine, I think she deserves to be up here. Next up, we have Ozrel. Ozrel is a good card. You can consume one of your big boys you played earlier, like the Goliath. or like your King Trum if they removed it without banishing it, which does happen. Geralt's a card. But yeah, I think it's just a good, solid finisher card. Has some offensive uses in certain matchups. You hate to see your Melusian get eaten by this thing. If you're playing Ogreites against them, well, who's going to consume the bigger card first? We don't know. Sometimes removing like a Madoc or something can be the right play with it, but it's just overall a good finisher card. Parasite. Let's see here. Parasite, Parasite, Parasite. You only play this in 2 decks. Devotion decks. Actually, that's not necessarily 2 decks, but Devotion decks and some Arrakis Swarm decks because it's an organic. Let's see here. You know what? We might just get rid of the niche tier. I don't think we're going to use it that much this time. Mid-range, mid-video, we're moving a tier. We've done that before. We've added a tier before for Renfrey. I know that much. Yeah, I think we might get rid of the niche tier this time. But as far as Parasite... I'm split on Parasite. I'm going to put it in niche. We're going to keep the niche tier. Because I think this is a good example of it. It has its moments in those decks, but you don't have to play it in those. It has a boost, which is fine. It's a good alternative. No, I have to be honest here. This card's playable. It's not a niche card. It's playable. You can use it in the Devotion decks. You can use it in Arrakis Swarm. It's fine. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And as far as the niche tier, we'll come back at the end to see how we feel about it. I really kind of think it's only going to have Abaya in it, but she is such a good example of a niche card that I kind of just want to leave the tier. All right, Penitent. Penitent's 6 now, which is more tolerable for setting up his combos. It's more tolerable for setting up his combos. I still don't like it that much, though. It kind of has the Abaya issue. It's not going the same tier as Abaya, but they're both Thrive cards that synergize with Deathwish. Because this one is a Deathwish. It's weird. It's hard to fit these combos in decks. I'm going to just say he's still probably weak. I still think he's weak. And it's not necessarily his fault. Part of it is, but the other part is the 7 Persian cards he can summon out just aren't stellar. Like, his best use is probably pulling out Goliath or Pugo. You could just play the Goliath, and then you're not going to play Pugo. So, yeah, I don't love it. Maybe if something else went to 7 provision range that'd be good to pull out, that had some kind of Deathwish synergy. Like, obviously it's meant to play 7 provision second card, but I don't really have high hopes for it, and I don't love it at the moment. What I do really like and do have hopes for is the Plague Maiden, though. Plague Maiden. Plague Maiden has one of the higher value Death Wishes. It is 7 points on her Death Wish, which makes her a 14 for 9 if you consume her, which is pretty good. The issue is you run out of row space, but you're often using her to get a bunch of cards and then use those cards for other stuff. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to have some Gwent popping up people's names over here. You can see our friends. And you guys are getting featured. You never know. I forgot to disable that before we started recording, and it's been too long for me to start doing it now. So we're just going to have people's names showing up. I apologize. As far as the Plague Maiden, though, I do think she's pretty good. She kind of makes her own decks. Like, you can make Witch's Sabbath decks with her that are poison-based. She works well with Glusty Warp because she spawns 7 tokens for Glusty Warp to consume. I'm going to put her in playable, I think, although I can see an argument for good. Depends how much you consider her Witch's Sabbath deck to be good. I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this right now. Any deck that exists because of Witch's Sabbath, I'm attributing the value to Witch's Sabbath and just putting Witch's Sabbath way at the top and just saying these other cards are all manifestations of her making things work. So, that is. As far as the rest of this, though, she's a great target for Arrakis Queen. Yeah, I think she's got value. I just think the other things you could do are typically a bit better, especially if you want to try to play poison monsters. I don't think that's the best deck, but I'll put her in playable. She actually does have enough value, just Deathwish, that you can play her. Golden Nether, Dual Necker Deathwish isn't really a thing, but she would be a card you'd want to play there. Next up, we have Protoflutter. Protoflutter is fine. I'm going to put him here by, I think by this. We're going to put him up one more. Protoflutter, we'll talk it through. He's good, not because of his value. He's 10 for 7, which is, it's all right value. But the reason it also needs 3 turns of bleeding. The reason he's good is because if you're in a round where the opponent has like 1 unit, and if your bleeding swing on that 1 unit, it lets you take all that bleeding and boost you with it instead. It doesn't even take it, you just boost by it. It works well when you can't get full value out of your bleeding, which is really nice because sometimes that happens. I do think it's about here, though. I think he's fine. I think it's better than this, though. Yeah, I'll give Protoflutter the benefit of the doubt. I do think it brings something to monsters, vampire decks that they kind of really want. So I will put him up here, although on the lower end. Pugo. Pugo. We're going to say the same thing as Old Spear Tip. Pugo is weak because he's too small on a 12 version card. Same deal with Old Spear Tip, same power level, same issue. If Pugo hits your own guy, that is terrible because he's playing 9 for 7, which is bad. If he does not hit your own guy, well, he's a 7 for 7, which is really bad. I really need to Penitent combo or Elenrith combo with him. That being said, that combo is usually not worth it. I think the Elenrith combo is better, but I think he's just a little bit not great. And the thing with him is, if you want to play him off Penitent, you can't really buff his provisions. You want to just make him bigger power-wise. If he was a 13, I think it'd be a lot more enticing, because then he would hit himself down to 10. And 10 for 7 is a stomachable card, like if you're not getting synergies off it. You can deal with it in a bad situation. Queen of the Night. Purify or Bleeding. Vampires love both of those keywords, and she is a good vampire card. That's about all I've got to say with her. She's just a good vampire card. Let's go next. Grab our Ratcatcheress. I'm going to put her in weak. Weak or playable? That is the question. The difference here is Ratcatcheress is kind of an engine you don't want to play early, because if you play her early, she can lose base power with the opponent pings her. If you play her late, she doesn't really get that much engine value, and it's 1 a turn typically, unless you're going to do something with Kyrenax Unicorn or Amuna, but usually it's 1 a turn at the end of a round. 9 for 7 means if you want her to get good value, you'd want her to be like at 11, which is fine. Yeah, she doesn't belong in this tier. She belongs in here. We can't disrespect her that much. I think she belongs in this tier, and I might move this up to good. We'll come back at the end and make some adjustments. Regis. Oh, speaking of good vampire cards, where's top tier? Regis kind of falls in line as one of the better finishers you can do. The vampire decks loves this thing just because it's so good. You see vampire decks constantly want to keep you bleeding. At the end of the game, if they've done it every turn, this is a 17 that drains you 3. That's a 23-point play. That is very, very strong. And Drain is usually not used for removal, but you can. And it's really good. I think it solidifies itself as an excellent card. Ruin. Oh, Ruin. How we have risen and fallen. I guess like a little context here. This last year for Balance Council, Ruin went from 3 to 4 power, then to 5 power, then back to 4 because everyone played it at 5. I think he's fine. I think he's fine. I think he falls in this tier. I think you're better off playing Deathwish without Ruin. Yeah, I think you're better off playing Deathwish without Ruin. But you can also make some fun decks with Sheetroll and stuff with him. And if you have enough consumes, like a Slizzard, you're running Slizzards in your deck, for example, he can get a ton of value. The Dream just Slizzard this each turn and it eats a Succubus. Yeah, that is the Dream. Sheetroll. Oh, Sheetroll. Sheetroll. 5 for 9. She is melee locked, which is annoying. And her setup for 2 points is not a turn, it's 2 points for destruction. So you can do some big combos with Glusty Warp. You can do some big combos like a Vran Warrior deck and consuming a bunch of your own tokens. The thing is, it's very hard to kind of get that to work. She has 9 provisions, so you can do stuff with Golden Necker, but I think Sheetroll is kind of too hard to work with at the moment. Even though she's been buffed, I think she's a little bit on the weaker end. I don't even like Vran Warrior decks, to be honest. That just might be me. I'm putting her here. Yeah, I'm putting her here. Is that harsh? Maybe. Maybe she could be unplayable, but I don't quite think the decks are there to support her at the moment. She Who Knows. Ooh, She Who Knows. I'm going to put She Who Knows down here, the Ratcatcher in the playable tier, I think. She Who Knows is fine. The resilience she can give herself is nice, and it can't be purified because it activates at the end of the round. I believe. It might be when you pass. I don't use this card very often. Whichever one it is, it's not getting purified. I believe it's when the round ends. But yeah, she usually gives it to herself, which is nice. You can potentially have her carry from round 2 to round 3. Round 1 into 2, then from 2 into 3, and get 30 points off of her. Usually doesn't happen. She's usually played in a deck with Iwara Quacks because you can pull her out and she doesn't lose value from that. And the opponent probably does. That being said, I think there's generally just better stuff to do with Relics if you want to play in Relics or even just any other deck that wants to play. I think there's better stuff to do. I'm almost going to drop her down to this tier. But I think the value is enough you can play her. Yeah, I think you could play her. I'll leave her unplayable. Be a bit generous to her. Sir Scratch, where is top tier? Sir Scratch is fantastic. The fact that he's immune means that it's very hard to deal with, and he is expensive at 9 provisions for a 4-power guy, but it's 2 points a turn if you're just replaying him with nothing else going on. But realistically, you're setting him up to activate things like Crochet, to activate a bunch of Thrive cards when your opponent plays their own cards without ever activating him, or putting him behind a Cave Troll. Really enables a lot of powerful stuff going on. Triple Sir Scratch decks don't exist anymore, thankfully. But yeah, overall, very, very good card. Yeah, just very, very strong. Oh, well, this tier is getting a little populated, but I know what else is going in it. Tatterwing. The definition of a finisher card, or just a big point slam play. Like, you think Ogroids have the big point slams? No, it's Tatterwing. Tatterwing's 25 and immune. They're not doing anything about that unless they have, like, Scorch. So, very powerful. Expensive, but very, very powerful. And there's a reason Tatterwing Arrakis Swarm was the best monsters deck for a while. One of the best, I should say. And why it remains the best version of Arrakis Swarm. Because Tatterwing just offers so much threat, and the downsides of playing only 1-power cards or 2-power cards to your decks, you don't lose too much off its ability. Typically, you just build your deck around that and don't care. So that's, yeah, incredibly powerful. Aparian Phantom is weird because it's not the strongest card on its own. It usually doesn't make it into Frost decks, even though it is a Frost card. You usually just use it to kill the Lara when activate her again, because it does 3 damage and it's a gold Wild Hunt unit. So you play this, Lara comes back, you go, oh, ding, kill Lara, and get another 24 points on your drones. Where does that put her on this tier list? Where's that put her? She's not really a good card. Like, she's a fine card, but she's good because of that combo. If there's another way to do it, you would, because you'd like Gel's Red Rider. She just happens to be a convenient way to activate Lara. You know what? I'm putting it here. Yeah, I like this for niche. You don't usually see this in anything else. Sometimes you see her in Keltalus decks as another way to enable stuff. Just as another Veil engine. But I think I like this niche. Yeah. I'm not putting her next to Lara, even though they go together, because she's nowhere near as good. The Beast. Beast is bad. It's unfortunate, but Beast is just bad. I'm not even putting it weak. That was the last time you saw someone play the Beast. Let's think about it this way. Witch Apprentice gets 2 points a turn with Sabbath, and there's no cap. The Beast gets 2 points a turn, is a gold that costs 7 provisions, and is capped by the biggest thing on the board. You can play it earlier, but that's just not a great card. Unfortunately. Naglfar, though, is a great card. Naglfar really, I believe it belongs in excellent tier. It's not the most consistency card, but top decks the second card you see. So you basically tutor 2 cards. One's delayed a round, but you get to see 2 cards, and that helps you in round 2 in particular. And it really helps just having this to find your good cards. You play in Devotion Monsters decks like Frost and Vampires. Outside of that, not so much, but it's still just a good card because of that. And I think it goes up here because it is so useful just to find your gold cards. And the ability to stack a second one is actually pretty underrated sometimes. Tyrannalia. Yeah, I can't do this. It's going up here. Tyrannalia enables the non-devotion Frost deck, which is bad, but you could do it. The other thing that's just really good about Tyrannalia is it gives you tons of carryover. If your Frost is going to be wasted, it carries it over. Just having a Red Riders on order from it is good. Usually it buffs for about 8 points, and you can have a Red Riders in the next round. Usually it carries over a couple more Frost on a row. It's just a good card. It's not even just a good card, it's a fantastic card. The ability for it to play that Red Riders is often very useful. Toad Prince is fine. I'm going to say the same thing for Maruna as I did for Toad Prince as I did for Maruna. Things have been power buffed out of 4 provision range that you often want to consume with him, so he's not as good as a control card as he used to be. He's still a fine control card, but usually he's not going to answer the stuff you want him to answer anymore. He still does play for tempo, though. Coming down, if you consume a 4 for 11 for 8 with the removal effect, you still want him to be removing something of value. Just 11 for 8 point slamp's not amazing. So you really want him to be using him for that control. And unfortunately, that control is not as valuable as it used to be because of power buffs from 4 to 5 power range. So yeah, I don't think I've seen a Toad Prince in a while. Maybe, no, I think I've seen one, but not many. Which is unfortunate because I think it's a cool card. Tugo, the Elder. Tugo. Only played with Witch's Sabbath. And that's not even, yeah, it's only played with Witch's Sabbath. I mean, it is an engine that's 1 point a turn, unless you have Might. If you spawn much of Arrakis drones, you can get like 10 points a turn. That's just too much of a pipe dream. So I will be putting him in the weak category. We're kind of ignoring, like I said, the Witch's Sabbath for these cards. Because it's all just Witch's Sabbath that makes the stuff really good. Monsters is such a hard one to rank because of things like this. But yeah, I think I would put Tugo in weak. Even if you're going to Witch's Sabbath, I think this is better. And I think this is better. And I think Keltalus is better. So yeah, not a fan. I do like myself some Unseen Elder, though. Unseen Elder is an excellent card. Not even just in Devotion Vampires. In any vampire deck, he's pretty good. And at 11 provisions and being an engine, he's also fantastic in Frost. I love playing Unseen Elder in Frost because you know they're really potent engine and just very good value. You play him, if you're in Devotion, he puts that 4 out and then the 2 and activates it immediately at the end of the turn. That means he's played for 9. The opponent ends their turn. He's played for 11 for 11. And he's doing 2 more bleeding per turn, which is just really good. Fantastic card. Varina. All right, Varina. I will be putting Varina alongside Ekamara, I think, instead of by Oriana, although it's close. I think she's good. I'm not going to put her in the excellent tier, I think. You can argue that depending on the meta. If the meta is very boost engine heavy, she counters that extremely well. And she puts out 4 bleeding, which is pretty good as well. But I think I'm going to stick her in good. She is a good card. Shutting down boost with her bleeding is very nice. Being able to just put out 4 bleeding is also useful. But you really want her to be shutting down boosts, and she is good at that. Depends on the matchup. V. Oh, V. The last time we did these tier lists, I put anything that made a semi-competitive or competitive deck, like the core of it, in excellent tier. We're not doing it this season or this year. We're just trying to rank them. I don't think V is a top tier deck. I think it's a fine deck. I think it's pretty good. V is weird in particular because it's a meta choice. If the meta is not Tall Punish related, V can really just dominate the mid-range decks. Because it plays for good tempo pretty quickly and does big point slams. Again, super heavy engine, they can just long round you, which can be an issue. And it's pretty reliant on Slizzard living. But I do think I will put V in good. I think the V deck's pretty good. Not the best monsters deck, but I think it's pretty good. I think I'll put him here because he does make that deck. Yeah. I think the decks up here, these cards are in, are better. Wispus. Or not Wispus, Weavis, Incantation. What a card. What a card. I'm between bad and meme here. Let's think. I think we'll go here. Incantations activating of Deathwish effects when you play them can be strong. But everything else you can do with Deathwish is better than that, in my opinion. So, yeah, she's... If you just look at her as one card, you play her, and you have played a 10 provision. Not even Barghest, because Barghest consumes 2 cards, potentially. You played a 10 provision hybrid. That's really rough. She has to fire off at least 3 good Death Wishes to get her value, I think. And that is very unlikely. So, yeah, that's... I'm not going to put her in meme. I think if she was actually cheap, she could be a Death Wish option. I think she's cheaper. But she... Oh, she kind of needs a deck around her because she's so expensive. If she was 8 or something, would we play her? Maybe. I'll leave her in bad because of that. I don't know. I could see this, though. I think I like bad slightly better. No, this is going meme, though. Werecat. Another one of these weird ones with Thrive on a Death Wish card. Don't get it. Like, I theoretically get it. You can get Thrive value for not activating the Death Wish, but... Man... Werecat. Wererat's actually a good card. Werecat is not. It's a row punish. It's a slight row punish with the 1. If you consume it, it does it again. I mean, Lacerate costs like 6 and it's a neutral or something. I mean, yikes. I can't justify putting this in meme tier because if it was like a 5 version gold, it would probably be playable. So I'm going to put it in bad and just, I despise this card for how bad it is, and I hope it gets buffed. Where Rat is a good card. Let's just stick him up here. Where's the haunt? Let's win by haunt. Where Rat's good. It gives you multiple consumes. It does go tall, but it enables stuff by spawning a bunch of rats. You can keep them from going too tall that way. And the rats can be used for things like Gusty Warp, like poison builds. Just the extra consume monsters with Deathwish does go tall in general, so they won't just be saving one tall punish for the Were Rat. I think it's just pretty good. And the fact that it's a 6 version card really helps it out. Man, I value Tutors highly. Yeah, it's going up here. Whispering Hillock is fantastic for finding your Deathwish cards. Great in Deathwish decks. It's not as good in Dagon decks because the Dagon cannot be tutored by the Whispering Hillock. However, if Dagon infuses, say, Lord Riptide, like the most searchable card you want to search, with its Deathwish, you then can tutor it with it because it will have a Deathwish. But it's very important for V decks as well. I think I'm going to put it up here. Yeah, I think it is. I think Whispering Hillock deserves to be up here. Tutoring your Deathwish cards is great. And the other thing is you often want to play a bunch of tutors in this deck, so it's not like this is exclusive to Royal Decree. You often play both. What do we think about... Ooh. What do we think about her? Wispa's Tribute. I think she's good. I think she's good. Is she good enough to go in excellent? She finds you organic cards. Organic cards are key in a couple of decks, which is Sabbath, and she finds Hive Mind. Just put her with Hive Mind. I think she's good enough to go up here. The organic cards she finds are very important, and the fact that she can get them is great. She's fairly cheap at it. I think I like that. Winter Queen is incredible. A lot of Frost cards up here. Almost like Frost is a top tier deck or something. But yeah, Winter Queen, Roach is a 4 for 9 that people play in a lot of decks. She's a 4 for 8 with an upside that can be a big payoff to your engine of having extra Frost. She's a self-tutor from the deck. The opponent has to answer. That is very dangerous, and that's why she's going in the top tier up here. Which is Sabbath. I'm trying to justify not putting us in the top tier. And I can't do it. It's going up here. Witch's Sabbath is a card that enables a bunch of different decks that just all revolve around this card, bringing 3 of some powerful thing back. I'm going to say one nice thing about Witch's Sabbath. You probably won't hear this again. The nice thing about Witch's Sabbath is it enables a bunch of cards that otherwise wouldn't see play to be played. Things like Tugo that doesn't really have a use outside of being Witch's Sabbath at the moment. That being said, this card's gameplay I hate and don't think it's very healthy. But it is a very strong card. All right. You can also just play this in Ogroids, for example. Something just with a bunch of tall cards or Keltalus decks. Bring back the Keltalus and things. Like I said when I was talking about those other cards, we're going to put Witch's Sabbath up here because she kind of enables all of that. And they kind of enable all of that. And that's what we're going to say. Yaga is not... Oh, Yaga. How do we put this? Yaga is not as bad as everyone who hates on it says. It's also not as good as you can make it seem to be. The problem with Yaga is that you need Sabbath for it. It is good if you consume a 4 provision with it, and then a 5, and then a 6. The issue with Yaga happens to be in the end of like a round 3 where you're in a critical situation and you're not playing many 4 provision cards and your opponent's not playing them and you can't consume something. It's also you need Sabbath out, so you'd want to go Mamuna into this usually, and that on Griffin is only 22 points, so you need more setup. I think Yaga just needs to be buffed. It's an interesting card. I think Yaga has potential if its floor isn't so atrociously low. Also, it's cooldown, so you kind of it has cooldown on the ability that you want to use early, but needs Sabbath. It does balance it, but I think it's a bit weak. Quite weak, actually. I'm gonna leave it here though, instead of putting it in bad. So I think it's actually not as bad as it seems. Yigurd is a playable card. If you want a tall card in your deck, just another big card in your deck, you can play Yigurd, and it does it pretty well. Works great with Azrael, especially if your deck already has multiple tall things. Like Ogres is a good example. They will often want to tall punish King Trum. If you just open Yigurd with 9 armor, that can be annoying for them to deal with, and it is a big play. So I'm going to put Yigurd here. I think it's fine. I think there's usually better things. Like I said with Ogroids previously, you probably want removal cards on your non-Ogre units, but it's still pretty good. If you just want a big card in your deck, you can play it. If this was 9, maybe Golden Nectar Tall would be a thing. I've tried to make it a thing, but no one's really caught on yet. Probably because it's not the best. That does it for the gold cards. So that is our tier list. How do we feel? Man, I really wish we didn't have this niche tier here. It feels like we're not using it properly, or it doesn't mesh with everything else we've got going on. And how do we have no meme cards here? Like my criticisms here for bad. We're critiquing our own tier list before we finish making it. Is weird. It's like we're commenting, like one of those commenters who complains about our methodology. But yeah, as far as the tier list here, these are not in order within the tiers. I'm moving this down. I like Relic better than this in Deathwish. These all seem good though. Detlef is a really good vampire card. I'm gonna put him up here. I think he deserves to join up with Oriana. These two are also very good, but they're more situationally good. Kamar is really strong too. I think I like these two more though. Doesn't mean these can't be in the same tier, but I think I like this. Love Karen, Were Rats. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm like happy. I like this in this tier better. The playable ones, these are all pretty similar, except I think for this one. I think I move this up. The extra succubus matters a lot to Deathwish. Extra Chimera is good if you're playing non-Tattering Arrakis Swarm too. Yeah, I like that. Niche. These are kind of niche. All right, guys, we will leave the niche tier here. Comment if you think we should get rid of it because it doesn't really fit with everything else. If we were going to get rid of it, I would put this one, Abaya, in playable because of the Arrakis Swarm, and put this one in good because of the combo with Laro. Weak, we have these. This all makes sense. Yeah, I love these all together. These seem to be the same. Bad. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's going down there. It's going there. What else? If this was a 4, would it be playable? I still wouldn't play if this was a 4 provision card. Let's be real. Let's see here. Yeah, there. I feel better now. We moved that down. Hmm. We'll do this. If this was a 5, it might be okay. Why would you want a wide punish in your Deathwish deck, though? No, this is going here too. I'm there we go. I'm biased. Those two going in that tier. There we go. That's the gold cards for monsters today, guys. We will actually just do the whole monsters tier list. I don't know why I tried to do my outro there. We're gonna do the bronzes now too. I'm gonna make a note here for the bronzes. We're gonna have to take a little break first though. Get some water and we'll be right back. On to the bronzes then. We're going to use the same tier list, put all the monsters cards in the same tier list. I will just make a couple notes here that bronzes you kind of rank differently from golds. Because for bronzes, playable is kind of a spot where you'd also put cards you'd want to play as a one of. I think for playable. Since you can have two often, these are like the cards you might consider playing a one of. Yeah, I just want to make that note. Let's get into the bronzes then. On El Aristocrat, I'm just going to stick the bronzes after the golds, even if they go in the same deck, just to keep it a little separate. But yeah, on El Aristocrat, superb bronze. The movement can be very useful to help Frost enable its Frost, because they play around it, you can move with her. And if they don't kill her, extra durations of Frost is 2 damage each time. That's very good. Conqueror is okay. It's like the first one you cut, the first Wild Hunt bronze. People use the portal discard, which is funny to me because those are like it has to be exactly these two. And Phoenix exists, so why would you? Let's think here. I will put this in playable. Nope. In playable. I think it's alright. You can play it. You might play like a one of it. It's pretty solid. That's why I want to make the note for playable here, because with bronzes, you can run 1 versus 2. I think playable's a good spot for cards you play one of or sometimes not. Slave Trader, same deal. It's not bad. You can play like Slave Trader and then do some stuff with it, like boost it with Ternalia. It's nice. The Frost damages stuff, so this guy can eventually lock it and put it down to 1. But I think overall, it's a fine card. You can play it. Or be a little quicker the bronzes, I think, because they're a lot of the bronzes are like less unique than the golds in some way, so it'll probably be quicker here. Alp is super good. I think I actually want to put it up here. Alp is a 10 for 5 that, if with its order goes off, it's 10 for 5. And the fact that half its value is on order is actually really nice because it lets you trigger Flitter twice in two different turns. So it's 7 for 5 if the bleeding goes off, which it probably will, and then you get the extra one. It's just really good value. Ancient Foglet is a brutal engine because it has Veil and gets a ton of points. I think I like Ancient Foglet up here. It usually doesn't go as high as something like Flitter. Usually like 12 to 16 is where you're looking at on a ceiling for this. But it also can come down with points because of the Frost to ratio, which makes it hard to kill. And it's veiled, so very strong engine. Nest. Oh, Nest. How do we do this? I will put Nest in good. It's not that you get a ton of value off of Nest, it's that you can't run more copies of Spontaneous Evolution, and you want enough cards that spawn a bunch of tokens that you play Nest. It spawns 5 tokens. That's good for the swarming decks. They want the 5 tokens. It's pretty good. Tatterwing Arachis Swarm, basically. Archaspore has been buffed recently, so wow. I mentioned the recently buffed ones because they might not be the most accurate representation of what they are because we haven't played with them quite a bit. I think Arachis, this is one of the exceptions to the one-of type thing for playable. I think it's all right. You can play Archaspores in certain decks. The problem with Archaspore is the decks that want to Deathwish often want Brewer's Ritual, and you can't have your Brewer's Ritual pull 2 of these out of your deck because you look like a fool. If it pulls 1 out, it's actually fine. and it's very unlikely to pull 2. So maybe people are just afraid of the math here. But it is played in V, because V is one of those example decks that wants to Deathwish and doesn't have Bruce Ritual. Because of that, I'm actually going to move it up. There's also 10 points on a 4-precision thinning card, which is a lot of value. So I think maybe there's some other use for this in pure Deathwish people haven't gone around to. Because if you do just have 10 Deathwish cards in your deck and you use Brewers Ritual, the chance you pull 2 of these out is so low. But you've earned Shadows, potentially. So I can see it. I can see the issues. I think it's good because of being in V. So we'll stick it by like over here because of that. Barbagazi needs to be 5 provisions. Don't have anything else to say about it. If it's 5 provisions, it'd actually be a good card. Barghest would be in... Ooh. Here's the thing. If this was 5, it'd be much better than Barghest. I'm putting Barghest in bad, actually. There's not really a reason to play Barghest. Now, maybe there'd be an interesting conversation for this to be a 4-provision card. Maybe a 4-for-4 alternative than Drago Warrior. Maybe even still at 5, but it's just bad right now. At least Barbagazi has a use in certain Golden Necker decks, because you want to bring an extra one back with Necromancer's Tome, and you have 4 Consume Orders. Barghest doesn't even have that going for it, so yeah. Bloody Idol is a meme card. Sometimes people play this. The only thing Bloody Idol has going for it, just compare it to Squirrel. Squirrel plays for 4 and banishes any card. This will almost never banish a gold, because no one's realistically letting you keep Bloody Mistress on board. And if they are, you don't care about banishing, because it's all about this round, not the next one. And usually banish is a way to prevent carryover of some type. It's just not good. The only time Bloody Idol is good is when the best deck in the game is Fruits with Griffin and you banish their Griffin. It's only playable if you know you want to be banishing bronzes and you know those bronzes have a high base power. Which is basically never, so this card's going to stay in the meme tier. Bridge Troll is playable. I'm going to say playable. It is used in Deathwish just to have more 4-version Deathwish cards. And because you eat it, it's 8-for-4, which is fine. Well, it's good to have 8-for-4, but needing a Consume makes it a little bit iffy on the exact value. Because the Consume cards are generally powered lower, because the Deathwish cards are powered higher. How the interaction works. But I think it's a playable card. Sometimes you see people who want a Giant King Drum put this in their Ogroid deck. I'm not a big fan of that choice, but it is a fine-ish Deathwish card. Just all the other Deathwishes are typically better. Not all of them, most of them. Bruxa is fine. I also remember when people thought this was the best bronze in the game. Tells you how much power creep there's been. Overall, though, Bruxa is a decent vampire card. I think the other vampire bronzes are better than it. Most of them are. And it doesn't really even get played in Thrive, so I'm going to put it in playable. I think that's a good spot for it. It doesn't even make it into the vampire cutoffs all the time anymore. Harpy is also playable. You can make decks with Harpy, which we'll probably revisit at some point. But yeah, it's fine. You can make decks with Harpy. It has Consume and Bonded to spawn the egg. The egg has good value if you can also consume it. It's just kind of hard to get the Bonded. And if you don't get the Bonded, you're very unhappy with this card. So I think it's alright. You could play it. Chimera. I think Chimera is good. Chimera at 6 or 5. Usually, this is the basic example. Let's say you played Arrakis Nest. You 5 drones. This consumes 1 and buffs the other 4. That's a 10 for 5. Like, Chimera does give a lot of value to Arrakis Swarm decks if you're not playing Tatterwing's the big thing, right? In non-Tatterwing, this card's good. In Tatterwing, you never play this, but I do think it's pretty solid. And I wonder about Lock in Tatterwing to make a Chimera. Maybe we'll try it sometime. Cockatrice. How generous are we feeling today? Poison monsters is not great. That being said, Cockatrice is an 8 for 4 point slam with upside of the poison if played between two beasts. The question is, are you going to be playing beasts in your deck, or you have to make your deck to fit this? And the answer is you have to make your deck to fit this. So you really have to be playing poison monsters. I think I'm going to put it here. I think the other poison monsters cards are just the deck in general just kind of holds it back. It really wants to go with Night Wraith, Were Rat, and Plague Maiden. Specifically Night Wraith, because Night Wraith you just play it and you get 2 rats, and then you can enable this. And then you're getting 14 for 8 provisions with a poison and a potential Deathwish. I like niche for this. We're going to keep the niche tier, I've decided. Your comments have been rejected. No, I'm just kidding. Let me know what you think either way. Let's see. Cursed Damsel's playable. You can play it in Thrive decks with Manor. Usually you just rather get the 1 off of the Manor than play this in your deck. But you can, because it has good synergies if you have Tactical Decision or something. But I just think other things are generally better. Cyclops. Okay, top tier. Cyclops, one of the best monsters bronzes. Cyclops is a bronze that gives you essentially infinite reach on removal if you have an equally big unit. Monsters has a lot of big units. Typically what that means is this can usually kill 7 power engines, which is a 6 and 7 power engines, which is a threshold most bronze removal cannot. It also triggers Deathwish when doing so. It is an Ogroid, so it fits in the Ogroid decks. It is a unit, so it fits in the Renfrey decks. And it can enable Deathwish, like we said. This is just overall a fantastic bronze card. Flexible removal. The only time you don't want to play this is your opponent has nothing on board. Desert Banshee's fine. It's an okay card. You can play it. It's like a little bit of an engine when you play Deathwish. It has a consume. I think it's playable. I think you can play it if you want to. I just don't think you'd rather do something else. But as a 4, because usually what you want to do with Deathwish is stack the Deathwish, the 4 version cards with Deathwishes, and then use your other stuff for consume, or like have double consume like a Drago Warrior. But it's not too bad. Like you could run it. More commonly run in V, but even then you don't see it too much. You like Slizzard better. Drowner. Ooh, Drowner. Played in exactly Tatterwing because it doesn't lose too much when it goes to 1 power. It is playable in Tatterwing. Not really outside of that. The movement generally doesn't matter. I'm going to put it in weak. I don't even think it's that good in Tatterwing. Yeah, I like that. I think this card needs a buff. Just compare it to like Indraga Larva and Necker, and it's not even in the same conversation. Eggs. Eggs is weird. Eggs is weird because it is 7 for 4 value if you Deathwish consume it, and it spawns the 3 egg tokens, which is great for Arachaswarm. Just Arachaswarm and Deathwish don't naturally combine that well, despite having a lot of cards, or at least a decent number of cards that seem like they might want to combine. I think this is generally weak. The thing with Deathwish is Deathwish cards typically have to be playing for more than the standard amount because the consume cards play for less usually. Well, they do, unless you're playing like Giant Toad. So they usually play for less, which means you have to play for more, like above the provision curve. This one doesn't. That can be fine if you enable some kind of synergy, like the Arachas Nest, for example. But I don't think Eggs does it. Yeah, it's not great. Larva is great, though. Two for 1, spawning 2 engines at once. We've talked about this before with Necromancer's Tome and stuff like that, which is Sabbath. 2 engines at once is great. 2 Thrive engines at once is great. It's a 4-point tempo play, not great. But 2 engines at once, they can't remove both most of the time. And that is a lot of points. Tons of monsters decks love this thing. Works great with Necromancer's Tome. Works great with decks that go tall like Ogroids. Works fantastic with decks based around Thrive like Manor decks. Works great in Golden Necker decks because they play Necromancer's Tome. It just works in a ton of decks. Works in great if you just want to do point slammy things like Ogroids and have some engines still in there. It's just fantastic. And Draga Warrior. Bronze double consumes good for Deathwish. I'm just going to put this up here in good. Let me think about it. It does activate Deathwish. It does give you an extra drone for each bronze you've consumed. Or not each bronze, for each insectoid you've consumed. I still think it falls in good. Yeah, I think it's good. Enraged Cyclops. Base power going to 10 is nice for things like Ghoul and Incubus. It's good value. 10 for 5 is obviously quite good. I think I will put this up here. Yeah, I think I'll put that up there. It's obviously a strong bronze in Ogroids because you get that 10 points on it, which is a lot. Enables might. Often the counter is enough that you can just trigger it right away. You don't have to worry about giving it crystals, or not crystal skull, carapace or crystal skull, I suppose. Usually you just do it right away, or like at the end of turn and go off. Ooh, got this one. Whoops. What do we think about it? 3 damage with Purify plus Bleeding and Vampires. It's fine in Devotion Vampires. I'm going to give it a playable. Like, you can play it in Devotion Vampires. I actually think it's not that bad, because that gives you extra Purifies. You usually want to purify yourself with Devotion Vampires. They'll get blocks on your Flutters and other engines, but it's not too bad. Fiend. Okay, let's just go up here real quick and drop that in up the top tier as well. Fiend is fantastic. 8 for 4 is a premium, like the premium bronze line. And often you'll just get that with no conditions, so you just drop it down. If you go second, you just play it in the opposite row of your opponent. It works great with Portal. Actually works amazingly with Portal. And works great with Mamuna. Any monster's deck can kind of just put this in if they want a big tempo bronze, except for Tatterwing. But you can play this in like pretty much anything you want to play this in. You just wouldn't play in Frost because Oberon Conqueror, or Oberon, Onel Conqueror has the upside of getting the 1 point boost. Flutter. It's an excellent engine. Flutter's great. The fact is it's typically 2 to 3 points a turn. It can be more with things like Feast for Blood and Oriana, but it's typically, I'd say probably around 3 points a turn, unless you're doing Nekorots, which is fine too. Like 2 to 3 points a turn makes sense on this, which is a lot of points. It's a lot of points. It's a very good engine. The opponent kind of has to deal with it, and it is very strong. Foglet is good. I'm going to put Foglet up here. Foglet is a 10 for 4 if the fog all goes off. That's a lot of value. It damages row locked. It is not targeted. It's the lowest thing on that row. But it's enough value that you're pretty happy usually consuming this. And then you're seeing that 6 go off. I think it's generally just pretty good for Deathwish. Of the 4 Persian Deathwish cards, this is probably the best one. Forktail is... I think it's still too small, unfortunately, to be good. I still think Forktail's weak. The idea of having a low number of units in your deck, like Keltalus, then you drop this to hit a bunch of different guys. Keltalus is already killing stuff, but in that deck, if they like locked the Keltalus or something, or heat waved it, and this drops in and gets some good value, it's okay. The best use of Forktail that I've ever seen is still when someone got it on me off of a Rune Mage into the Runestone, and then they hit me with it, and it killed like 15. I think it was actually 15 Arrakis drones. So the best use I've ever seen of this was not someone actually running it. So I think it's still weak. It wants to play in a deck that's based around having a low number of units that have pretty big impact, and I think it doesn't quite cut it because it's too small. I think it would want to be bigger to synergize with that. Okay, Toad. We'll make a note here like we did for Lord Riptide. Giant Toad is not almost certainly, it's probably going back to 3 provision power as soon as we finish this season, which is buffed back. But I generally think either way, it's an excellent bronze. It doesn't really matter what this thing's at. 3 versus 4. It's basically just an extra leader charge for Overwhelming Hunger, or Overwhelming Hunger leader charges on decks that don't want to play that leader, like Fruits of Yizgith, Golden Necker, where it can enable small packages of Deathwish cards, and it gives you great carryover, and lets you enable your Deathwishes the same turn you played them without needing to set up an engine on board or consume order on board. So it's incredible. Ganseon is good. Ganseon. Probably more ways to pronounce that than I can think of right now. I'm going to say it's just good. It's good in Relics. 9 for 5 is a good stat line. You can improve it by, teleporting if you want to be a little bit weird with that. Not weird, like a little bit fun with that. It's just pretty good. It's not amazing, though, but it's pretty good in Relics. Garcane's a kind of similar thing. It's pretty good in Vampires. Not as good as the other stuff, but 1 point a turn on this guy is pretty solid value. Yeah, it's pretty solid value. It's easy enough to enable. I also think Ghoul's good. Is Incubus next? Oh, it isn't. Okay, well, I was hoping it would be. So Ghoul going from 1 to 2 power really gave it an edge in competing with Incubus for the same role. What they want to do is take advantage of bronzes that you've gotten good value from before, like high base power bronzes, and get value for them again. Ghoul does it by consuming it. Incubus does it by summoning it back. Ghoul being 2 gives them a pretty solid edge, though. Like, not a solid edge, like a pretty solid competition. If you Ghoul a Fiend, for example, it's a 10 for 5. That's just really good. You can do Griffins. You can do Enraged Cyclops. I think it's just a pretty good card now. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid for decks that have tall bronzes. Griffin is also good. Let's see. How do we think? Do I think Griffin is an excellent card? I think Fiend is better. Just in a vacuum. Griffin really needs the Fruits of Yizgith leader, which is a -1, so it's an 8 for 5. But it does have carryover and high base power. It's carryover via Mamuna, and Ghoul, not because of its own thing. I'm gonna leave it in good. I think it's a good card. Eggs is also a good card. Harpy Egg, I should say. I think it's also good. It's a good Deathwish card, but not for normal Deathwish. This is a good card for Golden Necker Deathwish, more so than anything else, because it fits a little bit better there just with how the decks line up. Hideous Feast is a playable card. It's playable in Arrakis Swarm. Specifically, it's great. Not great. It's much better in Arrakis Swarm playing Stalkers, because boosting your Stalker with this while damaging an enemy and spawning a drone, it's a good combination of things to do at once. It's also 7 for 4 if you damage an enemy and boost a drone or something and spawn a token in Arrakis Swarm, which is fine. So I think it's playable, but not the ideal thing you want to be playing. Hybrid is weak, though. Hybrid is a 1 consume, or it's a 9 for 4. Now, 9 for 4 sounds really great until you have to already have consumed something. Basically, you have to consume something that turn with something else. Can be done, but the problem with normal Deathwish is you want your 4 pushing cards to be Deathwish cards and consuming cards to get most value out of them. This kind of fits that, but it doesn't work great in the standard Deathwish builds. So, yeah, you're also never picking this off of block. But because Chimera's just generally better if you want to consume something. I think Hybrid's still a bit weak. It wants you to set it up But if you're going to set up for a 4 provision card, it's usually got to be better payoff than this. Where is Jotun? Ice Giant goes in the same tier as Jotun. No, it doesn't. Ice Giant's not good. We'll put Ice Giant good. I think Jotun is a higher tier than Ice Giant, even though they go together. It's weird rating Jotun and Ice Giants. And obviously, one is completely dependent on the other. But obviously, one is much better than the other also. I think we'll put them in the same tier. I can't justify not having them in the same tier. He's only here because of Jotun. If you want to move Jotun and Ice Giant both down to good, I can totally agree with that. But I think I'm going to put in the same tier as Ice Giant and Jotun. Ice Troll is pretty good. Like, it's a solid bronze for Ogroids because it does have engine potential and it's got a decent amount of value. The engine does require might, but it got armor, so it's not that hard or not that easy to kill, and generally gets a decent amount of value. Yeah, I think I'll put it in good. Incubus goes right alongside Ghoul. It kind of is the same things as Ghoul. You're getting value from your high base power bronzes you've already played. I think they're a lot more competitive nowadays because this one's been nerfed, this one's been buffed, and I like that they're competitive with each other. It depends what your opponent's playing. If your opponent has like a 1 power 5 version card like a Siege Master, and then you bring back a Griffin, then you've gotten 13 points, they've gotten 1. Or if you've played Ghoul, you've gotten 11. But if they have a bigger card, Ghoul's better. So there is a little bit of give and take with these, with what you want to do. And I think that makes it more interesting, and I like these two, and I still think they are both good. What was this? Nest? Not Nest. Oh, I forgot this card's name randomly. Is this Kiki More Eggs? Because the other one's in Dreg Eggs. I think it's Kiki More Eggs. I hope we got that right. I want to get all the cards' names right. Should hope by now. But you should know by me not being a little concerned here, this card's not very good. I will put this in weak. The idea is fine. Like, the idea design-wise is fine, right? When you play organics, it gets bigger, then it spawns tokens. I really love the design, actually. It's very cool. Just the problem is that it doesn't get enough value. Yeah, that's the problem. As it's a slow way to generate tokens, which can work. It's just, why would I be slow about generating tokens so I could just, like, play Nest or Spontaneous Evolution or something? I think this is a little low base power for it to be doing its thing. Stalker. Okay, we have to make another note here. Kikimore Stalker is currently, as of recording this video, in part of a 2-step balance change to go from 3 for 5 provisions to 4 for 6 provisions. Currently, it is completely underpowered at 3 for 6. I will be rating it on this list, kind of like we said with Lord Riptide, as 4 for 6 because it is 100% going to be changed to 4 to 6, like within 2 weeks of recording this. 2 or 3 weeks. So we will rate this as 4 for 6. That being said, it's probably still going in this tier, the playable tier. It's great coming off of Hivemind. 6 is expensive. 3 for 5 was not played at all. 4 for 6, you can make your deck a little bit more around it. It can consume a token. It does have really good value if you get it going, but it's kind of hard to do that. I'm going to put it in here and just note we're kind of guessing on this one for its next power level. Exact same thing applies here. Great off of Hivemind. I'm giving that to Hivemind, not this card. Same with this. Part of a 2-step process to go from 4 for 5 from 3 for 4. Kind of guessing. If it's at 4, maybe it'll be played. I'm putting it playable. We're not too sure. And the Worker is a meme card. This card is only saved because it is spawned by Hivemind. No one in their right mind would ever play it otherwise. Even if this was like, well, that's a thought experiment, actually. If this was 10 base power, would people play it? Because they would still die to 3 damage. You know what? If it was 10 base power, people would play it. Let's be real here. 8, no. 9, maybe. It's a meme card, though. It's a meme card. What do we want to do with Lesser Witch? I'm gonna go Lesser Witch playable. It's not the best thing, but it is another Relic in Relic decks. It works well with Necromancer's Tome because it spawns a copy in the graveyard if you don't have the other copy already. And yeah, you can make bonded decks with it. It's okay. Yeah, playable. Sounds good to me. Marilorn. Activating a Deathwish is the same effect as consuming it. The only difference is you activate it if you want to use a specific Deathwish more than one time, because then the consume would let you do it more than one time. However, all of the 4 Vision Consume cards are notably better than this, even hybrid. So this card is pretty terrible. Is there a situation where I want to use this to trigger a Bronze Deathwish? I think that will be better than consuming it. Maybe if this was higher, maybe this was 6 power. Would I do it then? Let's see. I would do it with 6 power. Okay. I've convinced myself it's going in bad instead of meme. Taskmaster is playable. Often as a one of in Frost, just to have a way to do Purify, but otherwise you're not purifying with this. You're purifying with Peller, or if you're going to purify with Queen of the Night. So you can do this because you do have Dominance. Sometimes Ogres will play this, but I wouldn't. I think there's better things. But in Frost, it's fine as a one of. Crew. I actually think Crew's a great card. I highly rate Crew. Where's the other Frost ones? Crew is great because it is an engine that already gets its value when you play it, for the most part, right? You play this, you put Frost on the opposite row, it boosts itself by 1 for the White Frost passive, which we're just going to kind of account for here in its ability. It boosts itself by 1 at the end of the turn, that puts it to 3. It is then put out 4 damage worth of Frost in the opposite row. That's almost good enough value right there. It's not quite good enough value, but each turn it ticks, it gets another point, and it works great with the other cards in Frost. I think this is very strong. It's also great in Tatterwing because it can enable your Lara, and it's a 1 base power card. Just works great there too. What do we think about this one? Was it Survival of the Fittest? I always call this Endrega damage, but that's not actually what the card's name is. I just call it Endrega damage because it's got a bunch of Endregas on it. It's playable, I think. What about Hideous Feast? How do we feel about this? No, I actually think it's better than that. I'll put this one in good. I'm happy with this in good. It works well as removal in Arrakis Swarm decks because you get the extra token spawning. And 4 damage is a nice threshold, and Monsters doesn't have much removal, so having this is nice, I think. I think we'll go good, specifically for the Arrakis decks. Kikimor Warrior is another good card. Not Kikimor. Necker Warrior. Another good card. We have a card for that deck up here. Put it out here. Goes with Griffin. It's just a good backup to Fiend. Fiend is better, but often you want to play these both with Portal, so it's good to have a backup, and then you play them both. It's good. Works well with Mana as well. So, overall, pretty good. Necker. Necker is saved by Haunted Manor. Not Haunted Manor. Manor's Dark Secret. Let's call it thing the wrong name. It's saved by that. It's also saved by being an Ogroid, so going in Ogroid decks. I'm going to say it's pretty okay in those decks. Obviously, the other ones are better. Do I think it's here or do I think it's here? Man, I think I will go with... I think I will go with the bottom of good. It's pretty good comboed with Manor, and it's pretty good for being an Ogroid and Ogres to give you an engine. I think we'll put it there. Necker at 5 for 5. Basically 2 points of bleeding a turn engine. That sounds pretty darn good to me, and it's going up here. Nekara is an incredibly effective engine. It enables all your synergies for vampires super well. And also Zeal on the order, so it comes down like Alp. It's going to effectively be 7 for 5 on its deployed. Not immediately, because the bleeding takes turns, but that's the value. And then it gets 2 more a turn. That's incredible. Night Wraith is a playable card, I think. Oh, you're supposed to be with these other 2 up here. Night Wraith's fine. It's 8 for 4 on a Deathwish. That's not great. You know what? I'm playing Night Wraith with Cockadrace. These 2 are like a pair. Because it spawns the 2 rats, it's 2 beasts for this. I'm putting these 2 together. The other value on Deathwish cards is better than this. With the Deathwish cards, you don't really want them having a deploy because of Brewer's Ritual. So I'm going to put this in niche, I think, with those 2. Noon Wraith's a meme card. Like, the only thing you can do with Noon Wraith is lock your opponent out of playing cards by giving them a ton of rats. The actual value on this is a 6 for 4. If they kill it, it's a 4 for 4, which is terrible. I'm going to put this in meme. Kind of the same thing with the worker here. This was 10 base power. Yeah, it would be good, but that's obviously never going to happen. So I think this card is just a meme card, unfortunately. Ogre Warrior's playable. Often, the fact that it's 6 is a bit costly for Ogroids because you have a lot of expensive upper range cards like King Trum's a 15. Often you want to play Manor, you need consistency stuff. So it's a bit expensive, but it can be okay as a one-of just to get a big card to boost off of all your might stuff. But I think it's playable. It's on the weaker end of playable, but I think it's playable. You can run it as a one-of if you want. This card's really good, though. Not Fuka. Hey, you're not skipping out of order. Even if I'm the one who did that, I'm still blaming you. We have the Man Trap. Man Trap's actually really good. Like, it's so good for Thrive decks. The double Thrive activation matters quite a bit. And infusing 2 Thrives, like, for example, in Renfree decks that play small things that sum themselves out, it's pretty good. I actually think this deserves to be in the excellent tier. The double Thrive activation usually ends up being worth quite a bit. And then the infuse gives you an option if that's not the case. Now we'll do Fuka. Fuka is pretty good. It's just good in Ogroids. Ogroids go so tall that it's fine that this goes Thrive 2. If it goes off 3 times, you're really happy. And it can go more than that. So I think this fits pretty well in the good tier for Ogroids. Flumheart is playable. It's a playable vampire. Yeah, the bonded thing with it's kind of fun. You can make bonded base decks with this and have some fun, but I don't think it's the best thing you can do with vampires. I think you'd rather do something else. Probably even play Bruxa over it. But it's not too bad, right? The first one is going to be 7 with the 2 bleeding. The second one could be a lot more, so it's not too bad. Purgatory Dive is a good card. How do I feel about excellent versus good on Dive, though? I'm going to say this actually deserves to be up here. I think this deserves to be up here. Or is it just good? It's close. Cyclops is so much better, though. I think I will leave this in this tier. It's close for me. It works great in Fruits of Yizgith decks because you can always spawn the 1-power token. Same deal with Arrakis Swarm. And Deathwish, it can activate Deathwishes. So it's got a lot of synergies. Yeah, I'm going to put it in good, though. I think it's good. Red Riders. This is going in the top tier. Red Riders is fantastic because it gives you Frost for 2 turns on each row. That's 8 value. That is enabling your other Frost cards and enabling the White Frost passive ability to get more points. So it's usually worth probably about 10 if you're just giving Frost because you're getting 2 extra points. It's also going to be worth more if you're replaying a Bronze. You can unlock stuff that way. You can fix damage cards that way. You can replay Navigator for a big boost that way. Just so many uses. And all of the uses typically give you at least its provision curve. Like it's good. Rot Fiend. Oh, Rot Fiend. Rot Fiend is 10 for 5 if the 5 damage hits. Often they have low power tokens. 5 damage is enough to kill kill engines and stuff, which is interesting. Unfortunately, though, it's just not it. Rot Fiend's just not it, unfortunately. The value on the Deathwish often isn't there because you're usually not killing an engine because you're kind of telegraphing this if you play this first. And if you already have a order to consume something set up, I would rather consume something else than a Rot Fiend if that's the case most of the time. So I think it's going to fall in the weak category. Maybe if it was another 4 Persian Deathwish card, that'd be interesting. But it might not. Would it be too good then? I don't know. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. I just think it's weak. Not this one, though. Well, I'm running out of transitions, guys. Running out of transitions. Self-Eater is incredible. An unanswered Self-Eater in a long round will play for like 40 plus. So, incredible. The fact that it increases base power gives it fantastic carryover potential, especially with Incubus. And I'm going to say that overall, this card is just an excellent top tier card. Like, this is what relics are about. They're about having Self-Eater. Siren. Siren's good. Specifically good in Deathwish because it is a Deathwish card that also has an order to consume. If the Deathwish goes off, it's 8 for 5. The consume gives it extra value. And you love to see this come off your Brewers Ritual to consume more stuff. Works great in Golden Necker Deathwish as well. I don't think I'm going to quite put it on that top tier, but it is kind of borderline for me. The reason I'm not is because Deathwish has Toad, which is just better. Slizzard is good. It goes above V. Or where's V? This is good, right? Yeah, I think I like this. Slizzard's primarily used with V, but it also works pretty well in Ruin decks with Sheetroll, although those aren't very common. It also just works pretty well if you want to have a bunch of consumes on a deck for some reason, like Ruin. I know I just did the same thing twice, but that's okay. It's been a long video. Yeah, I think overall it's a pretty solid card, mainly for going with V, but it has some other uses. Evolution. This is the premier Arrakis Swarm card for either version. This is what you wish you could have 4 copies of instead of 2 of them being Nest. But Evolution plays for 9, and it gives, well, in Arrakis Swarm in particular. And it spawns 3 tokens. Right? So that's pretty darn good. No one in their life has ever played this on an Ogroid. That's just not true. I've done it. It was for science, guys. It was terrible. But it does have beast synergy if you are also playing a deck with like Rocher Knickers. You can put it on them sometimes. But it's just so good value in Arrakis Swarm. It does exactly what you want. It can boost your Stalker, which is its main best case, and then also spawn more tokens. So it's fantastic. The reason Succubus or Siren didn't go up in top tier for Deathwish because Succubus is. Succubus is 5 a turn each time you consume it. That really adds up fast. It is a carryover setup. You have to set up one early, which is why the lock, I think, you really need that third one, because if opponent banishes one, you're kind of looking at 2 5-for-5s. It's bad, but yeah, it's just fantastic value. Every time I put it on the thumbnail, I get more clicks on the video. Go figure. That is true, by the way. That is true. When I do Deathwish without Siren or Succubus on the thumbnail, I get less views. Next up, we have Vran Warrior. It just goes in Sheetroll decks. Not just. It can go in Sheetroll decks. It can go in Keltalist decks, although you don't see that very often. It also works pretty well with Lusty Warp decks, because you can set up the big threats. It's not in good tier. I'm just debating where I want to put it. I want to put it in playable, I think. It's not as good as these. It has 1 armor, so it's kind of... no, I'm putting it here. I'm not on the Vran Warrior Train. You can use it, but I think it's a little too hard to use. It really needs Slizzard to live, or you to get like a Gusty Warp combo. I think it's asking a bit much. You can do stuff with Sheetroll and Ruin and Golden Necker. I just don't think it's that good. Werewolf, though, is a good card. Werewolf's good, mainly because of Alpha Werewolf, but with Alpha Werewolf, it does become quite strong as a finisher play, and 4 provisions for a big finisher, if they answer it, that's not the worst thing, because usually you carried over the points from the Alpha Werewolf. And if you play 2 and you have to play the other one out of your hand, usually you're getting like 7 points or so, which is not that bad. I like it and good. Bruiser. I really like Bruiser. I know other people cut... we have a lot of Wild Hunt cards coming up. I know other people cut Bruisers first. I think Bruiser's good. I'm going to put it in the good tier. It is just a good card. It usually gets 2 extra damage on its movement. Often you can set that up so that the Frost will then hit the thing you moved into the Frost row. So you can threaten 4 value removal with this, which is good, assuming you have a good setup. And even outside of that, if it just does 2 damage, it's an 8 for 5 because of the Frost boost. So I think it's just a good card. Hound is not quite as good. Gets a bit of use in like Keltalus type stuff. I think I'm going to put it in playable though. I think it's playable. It does want dominance. 4 for 4 with 1 point return's not amazing, but it's not too bad. Navigator is going to skip all these 2 and go straight to top tier though. This is the best 4 version Frost card. Navigator will you'll also often have dominance because your cards are fairly big in Frost, and the Frost will knock the opponent's cards down. So this will often play for 12 plus points, depending on how much Frost you got out. If you go Ard Gaith with an Aristocrat out, it's going to play for 10 already. So yeah, I think 10 is pretty reasonable. You're expecting from this a lot of time, and often you'll be replaying with the Red Riders because of how much value it gets. You have Riders. Wild Hunt Riders is absolutely incredible. Thinning is one of the best things you can do. This is probably the easiest to set up faction thin there is, because every single deck in Monsters can play this, except for Tatterwing. You could actually play in Tatterwing, because dominance, if you go first in a round, you have dominance, if they didn't resilience. So you just play Riders. It's an 8-point play that thins your deck. Fantastic. Also a finisher when you use Oberon. 19-point play. You play this off the Oberon, summon 2 out of your deck. Big swing. Fantastic. Warrior is going to go down here. It's fine, but not the best. It's like another thing you might play a 1 of. It is an 8 for 4 if you get the Frost, which threatens 4 removal range. Like, it's fine. It's just the other... Frost has a lot of really good bronzes, so it's kind of hard to justify. Then we have 2 cards left. Sorry about that. And they are going to be on wildly different ends of this tier list. Let's take Witch Apprentice first. Wildly different ends. Witch Apprentice, what else goes in this deck? I'm just going to stick it up here. Witch Apprentice is... Where's Dragon Larva? There we go. Witch Apprentice, along with Larva, are like the premier monsters engines you put in your decks. Witch Apprentice works fantastically with the Golden Necker play, which gives you a ton of tempo very quickly, and then you can bring back a second copy with Necromancer's Tome and get them ticking. It works great in other decks like Fruits because they develop tempo very quickly. You drop this down for 2 a turn, secure your engine, and keep pushing with your tempo. Helps you match opponents' engines if they're trying to set up to come back from your point swing. Just very strong engine card. Yeah, it's not great in a short round, but your monsters, you have some big short round plays you can do before dropping it, and it's just super strong. Now, Wyvern is like the opposite of that. Wyvern is super weak. There's a theme here. The Thrive cards that spawn extra copies of themselves, Necker, and Andrea Larva are pretty good. The Thrive cards that just have some random minor effect, like Drowner and Wyvern, are not very good. So, yeah, 2 damage, on a 3-point body with Thrive? Terrible. Now, if this was a 4 for 4, would I play it then? No, probably not still. Let's be real. I think the Necker Warrior would still be a better inclusion. It's weird, though. Like, this is a hard one. Like, the 2 damage really doesn't threaten anything. And I'm talking about balancing this card. It's in bad tier. I'm just talking about balancing it to see if I put it down here or not. The 2 damage really doesn't do much, like, to anything. And the bigger you make it, the less Thrive points you will get, depending on the deck. So it's not necessarily true. I think this card is pretty awful, which is sad because I kind of like how it looks. I know it might be weird, but I kind of like the art in this one. I really wish this was more playable. Same with the Cockatrice. There's something about the flying creatures I like. I will go, not necessarily Harpy, like the more dragon-looking ones. Wyvern. I will put it here in bad. I think maybe at 4 for 4, I would consider it. Maybe at 5 for 4, I would definitely play it then, yeah. Yeah, we'll put it in bad. Wyvern's bad. Now let's take a look over the tier list, see if we want to change anything. I think overall we're pretty happy. We just might knock Jotun and Ice Giant down. Let's look at the rest. Let's look at the bronzes mainly. Yeah, these cards are very good. I'm happy with all these together. This one I could see moving down, but I think we'll leave it for now because it does work pretty well in Arrakis Swarm. Let's see Griffin moving up. I think we'll leave it. These two do go together. Like this Nightwraith really just needs Cockatrice. It doesn't work well in Deathwish because in Deathwish you want to pull stuff out and then get Deathwish value. This has deploy value. Yeah, leave that there. Bronzes, this just has to be 5. Yep, Drowner. Where's Wyvern? Drowner's kind of the same boat. Not exactly. Why am I moving that for no reason? I don't know. Yeah, I think we're happy with this overall for the tier list. I think we're happy with this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think, where you agree and disagree. For a lot of the cards, specifically in like good and playable, for a lot of them, I could be argued up or down a tier, but you know, we got to make the tier list eventually. I can't just make this every single day, then median out the answers we give. So that's the tier list, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the niche tier. Am I just keeping this for no reason? Should I move these guys somewhere else? I don't know. You let me know, and we will see you next time.